What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about a book that I do not have physically. I checked this out from Hoopla. I've talked about Hoopla before. My library has this thing with Hoopla. It's an online catalog of ebooks, audiobooks, some movies, and they have a pretty extensive comic book collection in their circulation. And I recently checked out Ultimates 3 by Jeph Loeb and Joe Madureira. And a lot of times on YouTube, you will hear someone engage in hyperbole so that they can get some extra clicks on their video. The Mandalorian Season 3 is the worst thing Star Wars has ever... No, it's not. But they will do this, and then it brings the people in. I don't want to make it sound like I am doing that. But I sincerely and truly do not believe that I have ever read a comic book story that is worse than Ultimates 3. This is absolutely atrocious. It is mind-boggling, some of the stuff that not only a writer thought was a good idea, his artistic collaborator thought, yeah, that sounds fine, and an editor signed off on it. All of that. Was everyone involved with this story? I don't know. It's really, really bad. So this is set sometime after the Ultimates 2. A little bit of time has passed, but I don't think it ever says exactly how much time has passed. We start with a big text block, and it says, these guys used to work for the government. Now they're operating privately out of Tony Stark's mansion, and we also have two new members of the team, the Black Panther and Valkyrie. Valkyrie was a member of the Defenders. She was powerless like all of the members of the Defenders, and she somehow has abilities now. It is never explained how or where she got these powers. In fact, she herself does not know. She is sleeping with Thor, which has got to be awkward because she did have a little bit of a thing with Henry Pym in Ultimates 2, and he is part of the team. He's on house arrest, I'm assuming, for his role in being part of the Liberators in Ultimates 2, but he is here at Tony Stark's mansion, so that has to be weird that she's sleeping with Thor while her ex hit it and quit it is like within spitting distance. But at one point she asks Thor, hey, isn't it weird that I have these powers and I don't know where they came from? And basically Thor just says, no, don't think about it too much. And it's never explained where she got these powers. I'll get to that in a minute because there is sort of an explanation, but it doesn't work. And then you've also got the Black Panther, and it says something like, he's very quiet, he keeps to himself, but Captain America has vouched for him, so he has a spot on the team. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, we find out the Black Panther is, are you ready, drumroll, Steve Rogers. For some reason, I don't know why, and the book never explains it, Steve has decided to split his time between being Captain America and being the Black Panther. I don't know. I don't get it. At one point early in the miniseries, Wasp, who is co-leading the team for some reason, she says, hey, Steve, where were you? And he says, I needed to build my own life. And that's all the explanation he gives, which is not an explanation. And him deciding that he wants to be not one but two superheroes does not make any sense at all. We are never, ever told why he's doing this. And in fact, it actually could have potentially backfired on the team, because at one point, Wasp splits the team up and says, you, and you're going to go over here, and you, and you're staying here, because something bad has happened, and Cap, we're going to need you to handle this when the media gets a hold of it. But he can't be in two places at once, so he decides to go with the other team as Black Panther, and then something bad happens that Steve should have been over here dealing with, but he's not. And so it really doesn't make any sense. I have no idea why this is here, other than maybe Jeph Loeb thought, well, we need not one but two mysteries in a story. And I will go ahead and say, Jeph Loeb, he may be the nicest person in the world. He cannot write his way out of a wet paper bag. He is not good with just a basic story, but he's definitely not good with mysteries. And a lot of people probably just turned this video off because I said that. Everyone and their cat really loves The Long Halloween. I am not one of those people. I truly despise that story. I think the only reason that most people like it is because of Tim Sale's excellent art. I like Tim Sale's art, but Jeph Loeb is not the reason that story is well loved. I will maintain that. I think that story is absolute garbage. I think as a mystery story, it's truly awful, and this story makes that look like, I don't know, a good mystery story. I don't have anything witty to say about that, but yeah, for some reason, we have this mystery of who is Black Panther. Ooh, it's somebody, and then it's Steve Rogers. That reveal makes no sense. I have no idea why Steve thought that he needed to do this. So then we get into the actual comic, and page 1, we have a sex tape of Natasha and Tony Stark, Tony's ex-fiance who died at the end of Ultimates 2. A sex tape was leaked, and Tony is drowning his sorrows, and this doesn't really feel right for Tony. And really, you could say that about every character in the story. Every character here feels off. This whole story, if you told me that it takes place in a universe that's almost but not quite the Ultimate Universe, that would make a lot of sense, because so much about this doesn't feel like the same Ultimate Universe that you've been reading about if you just got off of the Millar Hitch Ultimates run. If the Ultimates Universe, I think, is Earth 1610, if you told me that this was Earth 1610.1, I would believe you. So much just doesn't feel right. Tony Stark in the Millar and Hitch run, I feel like if he found out that his sex tape had leaked on the internet, what he would do, he would work his little technological magic, and then nobody on the internet would be able to access that sex tape unless they paid a fee. Tony would laugh about it and say, you guys want to see what I'm working with, you can pay for it, and then he would make money off of his tragedy. Even seeing Natasha in that video, that would probably bum him out a little bit. He was sad when she died and when she betrayed the team, but I think that Tony would laugh and take this in stride. I don't think that Tony would drink himself into a stupor like he does here. And this story, I feel like maybe they're trying to say, well, Tony was an alcoholic in Ultimates 1 and 2. Yes, he was, but he wasn't a depressive alcoholic. He was pretty cheerful in what we saw of him. And I feel like maybe they're thinking, well, demon in a bottle, Tony, his life falls apart, right? His life falls apart in the Denny O'Neil run. That's Tony, so we need to write him like that. That's Tony in the main Marvel Universe. This does not feel like Ultimate Tony. And Ultimate Tony is smart enough that if his sex tape leaked on the internet, he 100% could find a way to block anyone from watching that if he wanted to. But he doesn't do that, and I guess Jan, she bought it somewhere bootleg, bought a copy of it. I had no idea that sex tapes were being sold, physical copies were being sold out on street corners anymore, but I guess Tony's is, and so that is happening. And then we've got, at one point, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are walking down the stairs, and then Steve intercepts them and says that Scarlet Witch, you need to dress, you're showing too much flesh. You need to, you represent this team, and you need to put some more clothes on. And I kind of get that maybe Loeb thinks, okay, Captain America is from the 1940s. Someone in the 1940s would be, their jaw would hit the floor if they saw how some people today dress. I get it, but Steve has been working with Scarlet Witch for over a year now. She and Quicksilver join the Ultimates halfway through the first Ultimate series. And then there is, I think, a full year in between Ultimates 1 and Ultimates 2. And then I think there's a few months in between a couple of maybe... I don't remember, maybe Ultimates 2 Volume 1 and Ultimates 2 Volume 2. So a little over a year that Steve has been working with Scarlet Witch, and her costume is different in this volume, but it's not necessarily showing more flesh than what she was wearing in the stuff by Millar and Hitch. So I don't know why Steve picks now, a little over a year after he's known Scarlet Witch, to say, hey, you need to stop showing so much flesh. But he does that, and then Quicksilver kind of mouths off to him, and then Janet comes in, Janet and Hawkeye, and Janet has this look on her face, because she says, oh, Steve, don't you get it? They're in love with each other. They're banging each other. And she acts like this is like the most perfectly natural thing in the world. And yeah, the world is different in the present day than it was in the 40s, but 99.9% of the people on this planet right now are not going to react the way Jan is reacting here, where she says, oh, those kids, that brother and sister are having intercourse with each other, what can you do? Hawkeye, meanwhile, is reacting a little bit more realistically. He says, Tony's sex tape leaked, and now that's bad for our image. If everyone in the world finds out about Pietro and Wanda, that's really going to be bad. And then he says, something needs to be done about that. And it's really trying hard to make you think, spoilers, Scarlet Witch dies. It's really trying hard to make you think that something like Hawkeye is going to go and take care of this problem so that the team doesn't look bad because a brother and sister are having sex with each other. Even though they could just say, hey, you two are off the team, this is weird and gross, and also, if everyone finds out about it, I don't really know, it's like, oh, this is going to be bad for us, but it's not like they work for the government. If they work for the government, like when Hank beat Jan almost into a coma in Volume 1, that's bad, and then the government says, well, we can't keep him on the payroll, so we're getting rid of him. Okay, I get that, but now they're private citizens. They are being funded by Tony, and it's Tony's sex tape that's making them look bad, so he can't really do anything. He can't fire himself. So I'm not sure why they're talking so much in this issue about, oh, our image is going to look bad if everyone finds out about it. What are they going to do? Not call you if another alien invasion comes in because these two are having incest? Yes, it's gross, but you guys aren't held accountable by the public. So I don't really get it. But anyway, Steve finds out about this. He's kind of baffled, and so am I. And there were hints about it in the first 2 volumes, so maybe Loeb felt like he had to make it more clear, or maybe he felt, well, this is what the hand I was given. Millar and Hitch kind of hinted at this, so I have to work with what I was given. I don't know. But anyway, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, they go out, and then somebody fires a bullet, and then Quicksilver tries to catch it, but it goes through his hand, and then it kills the Scarlet Witch. And then, meanwhile, simultaneously, Hank Pym, who is on house arrest at Tony's mansion, he has accidentally OD'd on some pills. And so that's going on. And then, I forgot about this, Venom attacks the mansion, and he keeps screaming, where is she, where is she, and we have no idea who he's talking about. And then, finally, Valkyrie is able to kill Venom, and then he just turns into a big pile of sludge, and there is no human inside the Venom, which in the Ultimate Universe, I believe, Venom was slime on a person, but Carnage was not. But this Venom just disintegrates into a big, disgusting pile, and then Hawkeye says, I'm going to go find Spider-Man. Spider-Man knows about Venom. He may know what's going on here. And so then he goes and does that. And then that, I think, is everything in issue 1. A lot to unpack there. And then issue 2. Hawkeye finds Spider-Man, who he hears about there was a shooting, and it was the Scarlet Witch, and at first he thinks, well, Aunt May went to go see this play, so maybe it's Aunt May. And then suddenly, for no reason at all, Hawkeye starts shooting at Spider-Man. And his reason is, well, Spider-Man knows about Venom, and so I thought, well, maybe you were somehow in on this. That is completely asinine. That is like saying, well, Captain America has fought the Red Skull before, so if the Red Skull bombs a building in New York, then let's go shoot Captain America because he knows about the Red Skull. It makes absolutely no sense. And I should point out that Hawkeye has a death wish here. Basically, he doesn't want to be alive. His family died, and so he feels like he should die. And so his erratic behavior kind of makes sense, but then, and I don't condone this, but then just kill yourself, Hawkeye. If you want to be dead, then take care of it yourself. His antics are not only endangering Spider-Man in this case, but several times when he does something and he is acting irrationally, it is endangering his teammates as well. And, I mean, I don't think that he wants his teammates to be dead, and he claims, oh, that he's such a good shot that if I wanted Spider-Man dead, he'd be dead. But, I mean, that's not how it works. Ricochet is a thing. You could easily hurt someone, and Spider-Man was on a moving vehicle when he started shooting at him, so there were other people nearby. So, yeah, you think you're good, but what happens if the wind picks up and your bullet moves a little bit after you fired it? There are so many things about this that don't make sense, but he comes in and he starts beating up Spider-Man for some reason, and then Captain America comes in and says, hey, we're needed back at the mansion. So then they get back to the mansion, and then I'm trying to think, okay, by this point, Pietro is kind of yelling at everyone like, hey, why did nobody answer my call when I was calling saying, hey, Wanda's been shot? And Jan says, we never got your call. And so then, let's see, the Brotherhood of Mutants attacks. And this is a little weird. So we have Multiple Man. We have, I can't remember her name, but it's a woman who, Lorelei. Lorelei is her name. And then Mystique, for some reason, even though, as of this point, Mystique had only ever kind of shown up, I think. See, it's been many, many years since I've read Ultimate X-Men. Some of that is a little vague for me. I know she showed up in one of the Ultimate X-Men annuals, where we find out that she had a big thing for Charles, but he didn't really reciprocate her feelings. And then later, they found a cat in the mansion, and Emma named the cat Mystique. And so that, as far as I know, is the extent of Mystique's presence in the Ultimate Universe before this. I don't think that she showed up in the present day, because that was a flashback story that we had in one of the annuals. So I have no idea when or why Mystique joined Magneto's Brotherhood, but she was never part of it before. And then, let's see, later on, Pyro is a member of the Brotherhood for some reason, and he was actually a member of the X-Men. So I have no idea when or why or how Pyro left the X-Men to join the Brotherhood, but the Brotherhood, they attack the Ultimate Mansion because Magneto finds out that his daughter is dead and he wants her body so that he can give it a proper burial. And then he takes Quicksilver and says, hey, maybe you want to come back and join the Brotherhood. And Quicksilver doesn't take much convincing, so he rejoins Magneto. And then this issue is weird because it starts off, it says something like 6 minutes ago. And then it's like, Quicksilver's yelling at everyone about his sister's dead. And then the very last page, Wolverine just walks in. He says, hey, I want to talk to you guys. And it says 2 seconds ago. And I don't really get it. There's no part of this issue that's, told out of sequence. I don't know why this issue in particular, and only this issue, says, well, all of this happened 6 minutes ago, and then over the course of this whole issue, it all takes place about 6 minutes or whatever, and then Wolverine comes in, and that was 2 seconds ago. I don't get it. It serves no purpose. You could have removed those captions, and nothing would change about this issue. Then Wolverine comes in and gives a gigantic info dump. He says that after the war, and he does have his adamantium at this point, and like I say, it's been a very long time since I have read Ultimate X-Men. I think, still in the Ultimate Universe, that he was a World War II vet, and then later, much later, he got his adamantium, because John Rath, who in the main Marvel Universe was a mutant, but in the Ultimate Universe, he's a human. He's basically kind of like the the William Stryker from the movies. He's in charge of the Weapon X program, and he was a bad guy that we see in the first year of the Ultimate X-Men series, but I think, Weapon X was responsible for putting the adamantium in Wolverine. And that happened, within John Rath's lifetime. So not in World War II. But here, Wolverine says, after the war, and I'm assuming he means World War II, he says he realized that everyone he knew was going to, he was going to outlive everyone he knew. And so somehow he finds Wundagore, and he's looking for the Witch of Wundagore. And he finds her, and he wants her to kill him, but instead, she ends up sleeping with him, and then Magneto comes in, and then he takes Wolverine and throws him off the mountain, and then somehow Wolverine is not able to find Wundagore again. I guess Wundagore is a magical place, I don't know, and later on, shortly, it might have been actually around the same time this miniseries is happening, we had Ultimate Origins, where I've talked about it before. It's basically just, here's some backstory about some of these characters that you didn't know, and I'm really curious now how this is supposed to fit with Ultimate Origins, and how all of that is supposed to fit with what we had before in Ultimate X-Men, because in Ultimate X-Men, Wolverine was working with Magneto in the Brotherhood, and Magneto said, I want you to go and infiltrate the X-Men and assassinate Charles Xavier. And so here we are told that well before he was calling himself Magneto, that he met Wolverine, found him sleeping with his lady, and he just says that the Witch of Wundagore was spoken for. He doesn't say that they were engaged or whatever. And then many years later, Wolverine comes back and joins the Brotherhood, and Magneto either had no idea who he was, or he knew but he didn't say anything. But then in Ultimate Origins, we find out that Wolverine was the first mutant. He was Mutant Zero, and then he was in a lab, and then Magneto, who was a teenager at the time, he frees Wolverine, and then he kills his parent, or kills his mom. I don't think he had a dad in that story. So we have now three different things that none of them really reconcile with each other. If I was Magneto and I saw a guy with metal claws, and then many years later, a guy with metal claws wanted to join my team, I think I would remember who that was. And also, apparently, when he was a teenager, he freed Wolverine from a cage, and then didn't remember that when he walked in on Wolverine and his girlfriend. None of this makes any sense. But then, years later, when Wolverine joins the Brotherhood, we are told that the reason Magneto was so hard on Quicksilver was that it was a reminder that he was with a regular human woman. She wasn't a regular human woman because apparently she had actual sorcery, and some of that got passed down to the Scarlet Witch, which we never saw any point in Ultimate X-Men before this or in the Ultimates. All we had was that she has weird probability powers. We didn't have any actual sorcery with the Ultimate version of Scarlet Witch. But then we are told that his kids are a reminder that he was with a regular human woman. And so then he tells Wolverine that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are going to go exploring in the forest, and those are his emphasis. He says, I want you to follow them, and I want you to kill Quicksilver. So Wolverine, he stabs Quicksilver. Somehow Quicksilver survives, and then Scarlet Witch is able to magically conjure up some dinosaurs. And we saw them in the beginning of the Ultimate X-Men series. There were dinosaurs in the Savage Land. We were told at the time that these were from Magneto's experiments. But now we are told, no, Wanda actually magically conjured them, and then they spread this rumor that Magneto had scientifically recreated these dinosaurs. I need to look and make sure I'm good on time. Okay. And so, apparently Wanda magically created dinosaurs, and then she and Quicksilver have sex, and Wolverine is watching for some reason, and then he says, he's telling all this to the Ultimates, and then Cap tries to say, okay, we're going to have you'll stay here with Wanda's body. The rest of us are going to go to the Savage Land, and we're going to, no, wait. See, Wanda's body was taken. So Cap says, you guys will stay here, and then the rest of us will go to the Savage Land. And then Jan, the Wasp, she is, at some point, was promoted to co-leader, and I don't really know why, because she didn't really exhibit any leadership qualities in the main Ultimate series. And I feel like the reason she is co-leader is because in the main Marvel Universe, Jeff Loeb is aware that Jan, many times, has been the leader of the Avengers. But this is not the main Marvel Universe. And this is another instance of, for some reason, Jan just doesn't quite feel like the same character that she was under the hands of a different writer. And that's why I say it feels like a slightly different alternate universe here. But anyway, she says, no, we're not doing that. Instead, you and you will stay here. Steve, you stay here so that when the media finds out about this, you can kind of handle that. And then Black Panther, you're going to go to the Savage Land. Well, obviously, that can't happen, so then Steve doesn't stay there. And then they go to the Savage Land, and then Wolverine says, we're going to have some backup. And it's Kazar and Shanna the She-Devil, who have never appeared in the Ultimate Universe before this, and as far as I know, never appeared after this. But we are told that when Magneto came to the Savage Land, that he told actually it was Magneto and Charles and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and they looked like they were maybe 8 or 9. They crash landed in a Savage Land, and then they said, hey, we can all live here peacefully. And then at some point, presumably after Charles Xavier has been stabbed with a giant spear, Magneto then tried to murder and did succeed in murdering several of the inhabitants of the Savage Land. We have no idea where these people came from, but they know English, so I don't know what's going on there. Kazar and Shanna, they are going to team up with the Avengers, or the Ultimates, and then it doesn't really seem like that's a whole lot of backup, but Wolverine seems to think so. And then this is where we see some of the other members of the Brotherhood, like Mastermind and Pyro, and I feel like there are some others here, but the Juggernaut is here. Anyway, at one point, Mastermind, he starts messing with Valkyrie's head, making her think that she hallucinated having any powers and that she's still just a regular woman. And then in her hallucination, somebody walks through the door, and they are in shadow. We don't see who it is, but whoever it is, their eyes are glowing. And this person says, I gave you these powers not so that you could die on this day, so pick up your sword and fight. And then Valkyrie is suddenly, Mastermind's powers aren't working on her. She cuts off Mastermind's head, and then she cuts off Pyro's hands. And the reason I say this doesn't make sense is that I feel like Loeb is trying to say that Odin, for some reason, stepped in and gave Valkyrie powers. Now, even if that makes sense, which it doesn't, and I'm going to get to that in a second, we are never told why whoever this mysterious benefactor is, why they gave Valkyrie her powers. None of that is ever explained. But also, Odin traditionally only has one eye, and whoever this is, they have two glowing eyes. So whoever it is, not Odin. So I have no idea. I legitimately have not the faintest idea where or how Valkyrie got these powers. But anyway, they all try to attack Magneto. Magneto is able to make Thor's hammer sink. He's not able to pick it up because it has faint traces of iron. I'm trying to think. Wolverine is there, but I don't remember Magneto attacking Wolverine. While all of this is going on, meanwhile, we find out, Hank, he finds Jan, and he says, hey, I need to show you something. Or, no, Iron Man comes back from dealing with the Blob, from, like, when the Brotherhood attacked the Manor. Iron Man comes back, and Jan says, hey, where have you been? And it turns out it's not Tony, it's a robot. And then Hank comes in and saves Jan, and then he says, hey, I need to show you something. And it is his robots that he invented back in Ultimates Volume 2, the Ultron robots that he called them. They have now started to gain sentience, or at least one of them has. And it's the same one that the Scarlet Witch was flirting with in Millar and Hitch's Ultimates run. And he basically was like, wow, I really love the Scarlet Witch, but she did not reciprocate those feelings. And so one of the Ultron robots shot Scarlet Witch, and then also created a robot version of Venom. So the Venom that came and attacked the Manor was saying, where is she, where is she, was looking for the Scarlet Witch. That was a robot that apparently turns into goo whenever it's killed. And this Ultron is working on duplicates of all of the Avengers, and for some reason the robot version of Captain America comes in and fights the robot version of Iron Man. I don't know why, but Hank is showing Jan all this and saying, like, look, all this is happening, and then meanwhile, the robots then go to the Savage Land so that they can fight Magneto, but then they also are fighting the Ultimates, and basically we're told that once the war with humans and mutants is over, all who are left standing will realize that robots are the true masters of this world. That's not a great motivation, especially when the motivation that Ultron liked Scarlet Witch is already there. And you know what? I actually think the idea that the robot gaining sentience and falling in love with Scarlet Witch, that's fine as far as motivations go. The problem is this is not a mystery that plays fair. The whole storyline, I'm pretty sure it's called Who Killed Scarlet Witch? And so when you are asking the audience, who killed Scarlet Witch? Who could it be? You're asking them to try and figure it out. But the story does not offer any clues on who did it. The closest thing to a clue is when Quicksilver says, why didn't you guys answer your call? Whenever I called you guys and said, hey, Scarlet Witch has been killed, or has been shot, why didn't you guys answer? And Jan said, we never got a call. That's the closest thing to a clue. You could maybe kind of figure out, okay, somebody is intercepting the call. Who could it be? Oh, it's these robots that are here in the background, but they're not actually doing a whole lot of talking. It's not great because it doesn't give you any actual real clues so that you can do detective work along with somebody who's trying to figure all this out. It just happens. Hank says, hey, let's go listen to my robot who's expositing to himself. He's giving the big monologue. There's no one else in the room as far as Ultron knows, but he monologues for several pages about why he did what he did. That's not a great reveal on why the robot did what it did. But anyway, at the very end, the Ultimates are able to defeat all the robots, and then we find out Cap is Black Panther for some reason, and then the Brotherhood, they leave, and they're still not really happy with the Ultimates, and then he says, Magneto says, where is Scarlet Witch's body? And I don't know the answer to that. I do know, shortly after Ultimatum, that we found out that Scarlet Witch was alive. And that was never explained as far as I know. That was at the very end of Ultimate Origins X, or Ultimate X Origins. We find out Scarlet Witch is alive. And then that was, I guess, supposed to be an ongoing series, but then it ended up just being a mini-series. And as far as I know, it was never explained how the Scarlet Witch was shot, was pronounced dead, was dead for a couple of hours at least, and then her body goes missing, and then somehow she's alive again. And don't you dare say magic, because that is not good enough. And then I'm trying to think. At the end, Steve yells at Hank and says, like, "You're still under house arrest," and Jan says, "No, he's not. He helped save the day while you were being an idiot, Steve." And then at the very end, we find out that Dr. Doom was actually the one who made Ultron, who gave Ultron sentience. And so he was behind everything. Why? I don't know. As far as I know, this version of Dr. Doom has never even met the Scarlet Witch or any of the Ultimates. He did have one or two interactions with the Ultimate Fantastic Four, but he never had anything against the Ultimates or Scarlet Witch. I have no idea why he's doing this. And at this point, Doom has the Ultron head, and it starts saying something about Ultimatum. I didn't think that Dr. Doom had anything to do with Ultimatum. I thought that story was mostly Magneto flooding New York City. So I don't know what Dr. Doom had to do with any of that, but yeah, this story is really awful. I was going to say it feels like Jeff Loeb hadn't read any of the stuff that came before, but it actually does feel like he knows about some of the stuff. He knows about Hank creating the Ultrons and trying to give them to Nick Fury, and he has like straight up dialogue from the Millar Hitch run that he is quoting, and he's showing it in flashback in this book. And he will, anytime there's anything that's different than the way it was, a character will reference it. Valkyrie didn't have powers before, now she does, and she says, "Hey, isn't that weird?" But then we don't get an explanation for it. Thor now talks like, as Valkyrie said, like that movie Romeo and Juliet, and he says, "I used to feel like I had something to prove to Midgard, and now I don't." That doesn't make any sense. Everyone thought he was crazy from the word go because he was going around telling everyone that he was a Norse god. If you had something to prove, why were you going around telling everyone that you were a Norse god? And yes, he was. We find that out eventually. But then why were you telling people that if you felt like you had something to prove? It doesn't make sense. Every time there's something where you say, "Hang on, this doesn't make any sense," the characters will reference it. But it feels like Jeff Loeb didn't really have any interest in writing something that felt like it belonged in the Ultimate Universe. So he just wrote his fan fiction and then had characters say, "That's weird, that doesn't make any sense." And no, it doesn't make sense. None of this book makes any sense. This is the worst comic book that I have ever read in my life. And I'm still on the fence on if I should check out Ultimatum. I don't want to. I don't enjoy hate reading stuff, but, you know, if you guys enjoy seeing me lose my mind, we'll see. So those are my thoughts on Ultimates 3, Who Killed the Scarlet Witch. Thankfully, that was it. There wasn't any more to this like there was, you know, with the Ultimates previous stuff. It would be 2 arcs for 1 volume. No more for this volume. So that's it. I am going to go scream into a pillow for the rest of the night. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.